Every family tree. What? This white devil trying to derail the Jake train? Every family tree hides a secret. Secrets such as this being Slashers Podcast, a podcast about movies and more for those who love horror. My name is Jake, and with me as always is my esteemed colleague, co-host, and cohort, Brian. Brian, say hello to the mutant goons from beyond.
What's up?
Brian, say hello to the Spook House Podcast.
What's up, fuckers?
We got Phil and Jason. Jason and Phil. What would your Brangelina name be? Go.
Oh, man.
Jill.
I like that.
That was almost too quick. I feel like you thought about that before.
Hey, Brian, can we get a what's up, fuck boys?
I like to kind of throw in a little mix here and there. I don't know.
I've
maybe.
always wanted one, man.
Give the people
That's a good one.
What's up, fuck boys?
What's up? Yeah, it's good to be here, guys. We're longtime fans.
Likewise. I've been there since the infancy of your show. I was there during the drama where another show stole your graphic and your name. I was there when I made your first graphic, and I actually, fun fact, I wore your t-shirt and got laid over the weekend. So thanks for that, guys.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
It is a soft t-shirt.
It was very nice.
Super soft.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Jake actually designed our logo. So thank you, Jake.
Anytime.
That's cool. We're just collecting royalties, so.
Yeah.
Spook House money.
You guys are getting paid? What?
The royalties of me wearing a sweet-ass sex shirt and Brian getting nothing.
Well.
So, fellas, before we even start peddling this damn movie, I want you to peddle yourselves and tell our fans why they should be listening to the Spook House if they aren't already, even though I feel like there's a pretty tremendous amount of overlap with our awesome mutant goons from beyond. And what do you call your fans that's not a racial epithet, that one show that tried to steal your name and logo called their fans? Brian, can you figure out what that other show called their fans?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, no, they called them the one thing that you wouldn't want to call somebody out of Spook House fans. So you wouldn't call them houses, and you wouldn't certainly call them...
Oh, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a white dude. How fucking stupid is he?
Oh, boy.
I'm throwing
just
shade.
imagine, like in South Park with Randy Marsh, where he's on the fucking show, and they're like,
oh, yes. People who annoy you.
Yikes.
Awkward.
Yes.
Some guy actually told me once, he was like, your podcast name is racist. I said, you're racist for saying that. I never even thought that. Fuck you, dude. No.
Also,
it's from Halloween. Thank you very much.
They were probably from California. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, Californians are fucking weird and stupid, right, Brian?
I mean, PC Patrol, God.
So, fellas, sales pitch for your show. Give me one sentence of why you're like undeniably the best horror podcast that's not named Slashers.
Oh, man.
Because we love horror movies and we're not racist?
I like that's a great sales pitch. That's what I need in a world where black men can't just jog. That's the scary
Exactly.
thing.
Oh, boy.
We're not from Georgia.
Did you see that a dude to counter protest it? Some white dude jogged 2 miles through his neighborhood with a TV under his arm to show like, no, it's not about somebody being suspicious. It's about somebody's skin color. And his people.
He was even waving at people.
Oh God, it's so cringy, dude. I can't handle it.
Yeah, that's our tagline. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Or our pitch.
It's so cringy, dude. I can't handle it.
Yeah, I feel like if you like slashers, we're kind of in the same ballpark. I mean, it's two friends that have known each other for most of their life, breaking down your favorite movies.
Maybe not
Sometimes not
so
good
favorite.
movies.
Troll 2 was a bit of a slog to get through.
Yeah, we have fun, but you learn a lot of shit along the way.
I gotta say, that's one of the things I like most about your show. So often I find with a lot of horror podcasts, it's just not informative. It's I think this, I feel that, sentimental this, sentimental that I can't put myself in that person's perspective. But if you give me like objective facts and analytics and trivia and then pepper it in with your feelings, I'm your ride or die homie. But as soon as you start talking about your feelings, flim flam, not about it. So that's why I like your show. It's very informative and it keeps us all involved.
Yeah, we try to do our homework.
Yeah, we also talk about some news that may have happened throughout the week and some other stuff we may have watched also.
Yeah, it's usually Jason being like, I watched everything that's ever been posted on Tubi, and Phil being like, how?
Now I'm working from home, so pretty much every morning when I start my work from home, I was like, all right, what's some weird slasher that I've not seen? I watched Spookies for the first time, actually.
Hey, there's our fan name.
Yeah, Spookies. A fucking mess. You ever heard of like zombie mummies farting for 5 minutes straight?
Yeah, I've watched reviews of that film, but I've never been bold enough to actually watch it because I'm like,
don't encourage him, Jake, please.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to get on this road right now.
I believe one of Phil's aphorisms that I enjoy is "You don't want this smoke." Is that an appropriate use of the nomenclature?
Yeah, I think I probably said that.
Smoke, yeah. Yeah. It's a good one.
It's fairly common speak.
Yeah, around here. Anyway.
Or you don't want to catch a country ass whooping.
Okay, Stone Cold Steve Austin, calm it down.
No. Yeah, we say all sorts of stupid shit.
Never have I been told in my entire life that I have an accent more than when I start a podcast. Ever.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. You know what you guys should do is you should make shirts, a second batch of shirts, and I'll make the logo for you. It'll say Spook House 316. Jason just accented your ass.
That actually works. That actually works a whole lot.
That's a good idea, actually. I dig it.
I remember when I was joking about, I should get my dad, who you think I have a bad accent, I should just call him and be like, hey, what'd you think of this movie we watched this week? Yeah. And nobody will understand anything he says at all.
Him in the head.
So he's
similar, yes.
He's Boomhauer.
He's not quite Boomhauer, but he's pretty bad.
Or good, depending on the way you're viewing it, right?
Yeah, very much, yes.
God dang it, Boomhauer.
So I got to ask, guys, what movie are we reviewing this week?
Hereditary.
The feel-good story of 2018, I believe, when this one came out.
Yes.
Such a party. I mean, this movie it's just a breeze to watch. I didn't feel like I had to bathe for 3 days after I watched it. Let me tell you, it's just, you feel clean and loved and happy, right?
I definitely feel like it was a good call on maybe skipping Mother's Day on watching this. So.
Yeah. A little behind the scenes, we almost started recording this on Mother's Day, which would have been unsavory.
I think it's hilarious how everybody was talking back and forth on when they wanted to do it, and they're like, yeah, Sunday works, and I'm like looking at the calendar, I'm like, no, that's not gonna work, guys.
Yeah, that was a good call. And I realized halfway through the movie, I was like, I'm watching this movie and it's Mother's Day. This is not the most appropriate movie to be watching for that.
Seriously.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Well, hey, maybe it is. It could be for some folks.
We could have just watched the horror movie Mother's Day.
That would have been a really good one too. Although that one's got some pretty tricky issues these days.
So who saw this in theaters out of the four of us?
I did. I saw it.
Same here.
I saw Tag instead.
Oh,
knowing it would be bad. I knew it would be bad, but my wife does not horror, and so the idea of taking her to see this movie was never going to happen. So I settled. But
that was probably a good idea on your part.
For sure. Yeah, because we had a 2-month-old when this came out. So last thing I want is her dousing the baby in lighter fluid, dog.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, lighter fluid is probably a little better than paint thinner, but
Did I just get actually on my own show?
It never happens. Come on. I'll be editing it, so it's not like
actually
you'll be able to delete it, right?
I'm gonna edit your edit just to make absolutely sure I don't look like a buffoon.
Funny is every time I'm done editing, I'm like, all right, Jake, let me know what you think. And then you're like, let me just go ahead and delete this.
Yeah. So shall I get into the statistics for this week?
Let's do it.
Made on a budget of $10 million, it grossed a whopping $80.2 million, 44.1 of which came from the United States and Canada. So public health care and good taste in movies, I guess.
Yeah.
Wasn't this A24's highest gross to date?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Even more than Midsommar?
No, I guess I should say when this was released.
Yeah, that's what to date.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
I understood Brian to say to date as in June 8th, 2018, not, of course, January 21st, 2018, when it debuted at Sundance, obviously, as we all know off the top of our heads, right?
Obviously.
Yes. Which is also a rough cut that didn't have everything quite done yet, from what I understand.
God, apparently the unedited was like 3 hours long.
I couldn't imagine sitting through that.
I really want to see that, actually. Yeah. Apparently most of it was like family drama stuff, like the dinner scene stretched out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which for me, the supernatural stuff, while it was very effective and cool, like the reason this movie kind of shook me so much was a lot of the family drama stuff that was just a little too real in part. So I kind of want to see like the full cut of that.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was maybe going to be like a Quentin Tarantino horror film, just all dialogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
which I could totally get down with.
Phil, did you watch the extended cut of Midsommar?
I did not, but a good friend of mine whose opinion I respect, he was not a huge fan of Midsommar like myself, but he said upon rewatch that he enjoyed it a lot more. So I'm like, well, maybe I need to give it a rewatch at some point.
Had he taken shrooms the second time you watched it?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
So Jake, did you watch the later one?
The
Whatever the
the
extended.
Fuck no, I don't have time for that shit.
Did
I
you
don't
not
know.
like Midsommar?
I feel like me and you could probably sit down and watch it again and just have like our own opinion on it without like the significant others.
Yeah, our women folk were judging us hard when we all went to see Midsommar. It was kind of weird, but like it's I described it like, you know, a vaccination where like it's not necessarily enjoyable, but I'm glad to have seen it. And like definitely more so with Midsommar than this movie, because I've seen enough movies that overlap with this movie to where I'm like, okay, family drama, like it's well done, but it's not as exploratory. Whereas with Midsommar, it's like even the stuff I didn't like, I was interested by. If I can make that distinction.
Yeah, at no point in Midsommar did I feel bored, but towards the end, I was like, okay, this is kind of going nowhere, and this looks cool. It's visually interesting, but when I left the theater, I was like, okay.
I feel like I enjoyed the score of Midsommar more than the actual like plot and storyline itself. I thought it was fucking amazing.
And it was beautiful as shit. And I really like the idea of like a horror film in quotation set in a really bright and colorful, very different scenario. Whereas this, I mean, it had very similar. I mean, Jesus Christ, we had just done Krampus with Toni Collette, and I was like, oh, it's a bunch of people yelling at each other at a dinner table. And then I saw this, and I was like, oh, it's a bunch of people yelling. And then I remembered Knives Out, and I was like, oh, it's a bunch of people yelling at each other in a house I can't afford. Fuck.
Well, those first two movies were good. Okay,
I like Knives Out. Okay, get over it, Phil.
How?
I don't get the hype. Oh my God, Jake,
I fucking hate that movie. I was like,
thank you.
Hercule
Holy
Poirot is spinning over in his imaginary grave thinking of that. Oh man, it had so many people I liked too. Like objectively, I liked everybody in that movie. And then you put them together, it's like this. Sonic the Hedgehog is cool, right?
Sure. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about the age-old character from Sega Genesis. Yeah. So we love Sonic. We also love tits, right? Tits are cool. You put tits on Sonic, it's not as cool. And that's a problem I had with Knives Out.
Okay. That's you know what? I understand and respect that metaphor you just made.
Do you also have an erection?
Well, you know, it's a weird one, but sure.
I haven't seen Knives Out, but I don't know, just looking at the cast itself, I feel like it almost could have been like a Simon Pegg, Nick Frost film.
I think I'd like it more if it was.
Yeah.
It would have been funnier, that's for sure.
Well, people keep calling it a whodunit, and it's not a whodunit because you know who did it 20 minutes into it, and it's like, oh, this is exactly what happened. Now let's watch this boring fucking actress for the rest of the movie stumble around. I don't get it. I don't get the hype.
She's a new Bond girl.
That's sad.
Do you think she's going to throw up on Daniel Craig?
Oh, God.
Again?
Yeah,
wait. So are they having James Bond be a girl now? Is that what's happening?
No, she's his like he's going to sling his dick inside her vagina hole, and they're going to be playing some sensual music.
So you
at the time.
mean that as a Bond girl? Because I know there's been talks about people like female lead role in James Bond, and I'm like,
yeah, and they
I don't
really
know. I mean,
a lot of people like petition hard for Idris Elba to be the next Bond, but that's not going to happen. I don't think ever.
I'm into it.
I don't know. I mean, I would be down.
I mean, he's good. He's pretty awesome, but I don't think anybody really got behind it like Hollywood.
Honestly, I feel like after the Ghostbusters fucking finagle with the all-female cast, not talking shit on women because they can act and fucking act their hearts out, but I don't know, doing the whole remake and
it's the style of comedy too.
Yeah, I don't know.
The style doesn't work for, I mean, you can't do Bridesmaids, Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is a different thing. Like, it's the same thing. Like, if you put Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd in a Bridesmaids remake, it wouldn't work. And so it has nothing to do, I don't think, necessarily with gender. It's like just different styles of comedy, you know? It'd be like making, you know, Jason Voorhees into a psychological thriller instead of a slasher movie. It's like, yeah, I guess they're in the same hemisphere, but they're wholly distinct. And it's, yeah, I'm not digging it.
Have you seen Jason Goes to Hell?
Okay,
Let me stop you right there.
Hey, that's still not the worst in the series because Jason Takes Manhattan is a bucket of shit on fire, and the one where he fights Jean Grey pisses me off.
Why haven't Why haven't they had a Jason Voorhees musical is what I want to know.
Because he doesn't say anything.
But I mean, they can have it like all about his life and everything, and he just like hacks up people and stuff. I mean, I'd see it.
With your chit and your ka walking through the forest with a ka.
It would probably be better than the Spider-Man musical.
Oh, turn off the dark.
Yeah, with the Edge from U2.
And Bono.
Oh, and Bono.
Oh yeah,
That's awful.
I have watched multiple documentaries on that bucket of shit on fire where like the producer died as they were going to sign the contract, and nobody was like, "Hey, this is a bad omen. This is not good."
And how many people how many other people almost died in that thing? Like 7 or 8 people?
Oh, tons of broken bones and just a calamity. Speaking of calamities, this movie went relatively unopposed in the horror market. There's a bunch of other bullshit movies that came out. The closest one I could find was Possum, which came out on June 25th of 2018, which is fine. So there you go.
Never heard of it.
Possum?
Yep.
Is it about a giant possum eating people?
It's a thing in a box. You could, if you look at it's on Shudder, it's fine.
Okay.
Nothing going to change the world, but there's no competition. I don't even know if that actually had a theatrical release. Now that I've put it in my notes, I'm like, wait a second, was that just direct?
Hey, so I'm pretty sure this is a true fact. I'm like 90% sure that Halloween 2018 came out the day the trailer for Hereditary was released.
Speaking of the trailer for this film, did you guys see that in Australia they accidentally screened it for a bunch of children who are going to be watching a film and scarred them?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're
great. And it's funny because it feels like it's definitely an Australian thing, right? It doesn't sound out of character for that to happen in Australia.
Yeah. Well, everything else there is there to kill you anyway. So you might as well go to the movies and expect something like that to happen too.
Seriously, dude. I met orb weavers while I was in Australia. They're giant spiders. Like, I have pretty decent sized hands for a guy with a tiny ass dick. And that spider is bigger than my hand. And its web is like fishing line. It's so twangy and like dense. And that's just one of like 10 species I saw that could kill me on my walking path.
Shit. So speaking of the trailer, like, was this movie spoiled for you or Brian? Did you know, like, oh, the little girl dies? And
No.
Oh, really? So you had no idea?
Right.
I had no idea. Yeah, the entire time, like, I'm thinking, oh, she's going to be like a pivotal character within the film. And I mean, in a way, she still is, but I thought she would be in it a lot longer than she was.
Yeah,
just based off the trailers, and that's amazing that they did that, right? And it's kind of cool that they included the clicking sound throughout the film, even though she wasn't actually in the movie, right?
No, yeah.
What's interesting is the director very definitively said that is a tick that the demon has, not that she has, so that it passes from the demon to her to Peter. So it's not as, because a lot of people just dismiss her as being autistic, and he never uses the word autistic from what I saw, because he's not talking about her being autistic. He's talking about her being possessed from infancy. So she's just a non-person because she's just, a vessel.
Okay, so I have a question then. I mean, this is maybe jumping ahead because this is what I usually fucking do. So they talk about her and the grandma wanting her to be a boy. I always figured, at least when I was watching this, obviously earlier today, that she was younger than Peter. But this implies that she is older than Peter.
No,
right?
she's younger than Peter. The distinction is that Toni Collette's character wouldn't let the mom near Peter. And so she said that when the daughter was born, that's when she let her have it. And that's why.
And that's why the grandma wanted her to be a boy, so she can be closer to being able to help. Okay, that makes sense. Help Charlie go into becoming fucking
Payman. P-A-I-M-O-N.
Yeah.
And then she can ride a fucking camel and have feminine features, but also be masculine. Did you guys do any of the research on Payman? It's kind of crazy.
A little bit.
I meant to. I looked a little bit, but I didn't do a whole lot.
So, Aleister Crowley, fucking has, legit drawings about him, summoning Payman and all of the crazy shit that happens with that. So, I think it's kind of neat.
All I ever had to do to summon Payman was put a quarter in an arcade machine, and then there'd be a bunch of ghosts chasing me, and I'd be eating fruit. It was awesome. That's what we're talking about, right?
So, I know that the drawings of Payman, he's, riding riding a horse and carrying a satchel with 3 severed heads in it, and there's 3 beheadings in the movie.
Oh, that's
right,
nice.
right. And so that has to do with Hindu beliefs when it comes to I forget which god it was, who one of them cuts off their head and offers the blood to the starving people, and they drink from that and they become,
Which was Toni
gives them
Collette. She cuts off her own head.
and gives them substance. And then another gets their head cut off, and that was as a sacrifice, which is probably going to be Charlie. And then there's one more, which is the father. What the fuck was his name? And he's headless also. So they don't really show like the head getting decapitated, but when it shows Peter see him all charred up in the living room, he doesn't have a head.
No, that was the grandma.
Wait, yeah,
the
that
grandma
was
was
the grandma in
headless.
the attic.
I don't think the husband had a head either, though.
No, I thought he just got burned alive.
it's
which
the
I have
3
huge
women.
questions about that.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
he's just melted.
Oh,
Yeah.
And another cool detail that I really liked. So whenever Peter's in the classroom and he does that thing where he sticks his arm straight up and his like wrist is all contorted, that's like a representation of the staff that Payman carries. It's like
interesting.
At the very end of the movie, when you see the Payman statue thing in the treehouse, it has the staff like with the hand symbol on it. So that was another
that's
cool
pretty
little
cool.
detail.
I like that. One of the other things that I actually read on was how the actor that portrayed Peter, he wanted to actually slam his head into the desk, like legit do it. And they're like, oh, well, hold on. Let's see what we can do. And they convinced him that, we'll use some padding or whatnot. So he slammed his head down thinking that it was like all padded and whatnot, but it was only like 2 or 3 inches thick of padding. And then it was like legit hardwood, and he dislocated his jaw as he slammed his face into it, and they still used it. And they're like, yeah, that looks really good. You look like a fucking demon.
And he was flailing so hard, he actually busted his kneecap and started bleeding under his pants.
Shit. Yeah, I love that scene. There's so many creepy, unsettling moments in this movie. I'll say it. I was shook, man. I was fucking shook because I saw this in theaters knowing nothing. Like, I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, that looks really cool. Let me go watch this. I was not expecting a lot of the shit in this movie. So
yeah, I think we'll add that to the tag on this hashtag shook.
hashtag shook.
Yeah, the kid actually wanted to jump out of the attic window too, and they're like, no, you're not fucking Evel Knievel or Jackie Chan. Stop.
Yeah, I like how he's just like this, like, okay, well, I'm this young actor who is like very thespian, and I'm going to
stay in character the entire time, and you will only refer to me as Peter.
I'm a method actor. I don't know if you've ever heard of me. I'm not Leonardo DiCaprio, but
I just got off the set of a Nickelodeon TV show series. I'm ready to get out into the world and do my art.
Seriously, dude,
right?
Like if this guy had the same fucking method acting going into Jumanji 2, that would be a very tough day.
Was he in Jumanji?
He was in the Jumanji.
Yeah,
he's the kid who becomes the Rock.
I think he is in the upcoming Jumanji also. So
I want to be the Rock. What did I just say that?
I want to be inside the Rock, if you know what I'm saying. The movie was 1 hour and 27 minutes long. I'm going to be honest. This could be 40 minutes shorter, in my opinion. I understand why people are like, yep, it never got my dick hard. The entire time I'm like,
wait, it was 1 hour and 20. So it's how many minutes? I want to say
was 2 hours.
2 hours,
2 hours, dude. Yeah, it's like 2 hours. I think it's like 127 minutes.
What did I say?
1 hour and 27 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, one is very different from the other.
Exactly. It is 127 minutes. I have the attention span of a goldfish, and so I was thinking,
guys, hold on. I'm actually Jake again.
It was a Freudian slip because I wanted the movie. The point I was making is that I wanted it to be shorter because it was so goddamn long.
So, Jake, I'm kind of sensing that you aren't a huge fan.
I didn't necessarily dislike it, but it never got me interested. Like I was just always kind of like, eh. Like I just watched Underwater with Kristen Stewart. In my opinion, undeniably a better movie than this.
I haven't seen that. So.
I think she was pretty good though.
I like her haircut.
Well, I also really love Alien, and it's basically just Alien underwater. And like this is just like it's not bad by any stretch of the means. It's just like everything was just like nothing made me feel good. And so it's like I can watch a slasher and I like to root for the people to die. You know, I like doing that. But I didn't want anybody to I don't want the special girl to die. I don't want the dad who's looking out for his kids' well-being to self-immolate by proxy. Like it's all just very everybody was a victim, I guess is kind of why I wasn't like overly dick chubbed about it.
How I feel about this movie is now that I've seen this after I saw Midsommar, I enjoy this. If I were to see this before Midsommar, I would be a little like morose about it, right? But then Midsommar, you're just like, oh God, I don't know. I felt like Midsommar was a lot more depressing. So watching this after the fact, I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad.
Wait, really? I felt like Midsommar was way easier to digest than this movie. This movie was like, maybe it's just too close to home and I have a fucked up childhood. But I was like, stop yelling! Mom and Dad, stop yelling!
I don't know, I feel like Midsommar had kind of a happier ending, if that makes any sense. Like it's a downer ending, but you get the happiness where she kind of found her family at the very end, sort of, you know?
Yeah, like a
and this
juggalo.
And this was like, okay, apocalypse, basically.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the end credits, like music, like is perfect as a transition into Midsommar.
Judy Collins.
It's like super upbeat and like you're just like, oh, this is so nice and pleasant. And then you go into Midsommar and it's beautiful scenery everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys noticed this shot at the very end of Hereditary. This is how fucking dark this movie is. After Peter jumps out of the window and his payment enters his body, there's a quick shot of the dog dead on the ground. It didn't need to be there, but Ari Aster was like, you know what? Fuck you. The dog's dead too.
See, that's what I mean.
Honestly, if you think about it, anytime there's like a cute dog in any kind of horror movie,
Yeah.
it's gonna die. And it's like Michelle is always keen on pointing that out. Anytime there's like a cute beagle or something, she's like, oh, its head's getting ripped off. I know it.
There's even a website called Does the Dog Die? Where you can just like look at the movie and it'll tell you if the dog dies or not.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
perfect.
I mean, man's best friend. It's an easy way to tug on your emotions, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And this was like such a cheap way to get it because it doesn't need to be there. It does nothing for the movie at all. It doesn't serve.
Although, I mean,
one bit. It's just an easy way to get everybody emotional.
Don't get me wrong, though. It was a super easy way of doing it in that they just show a dead dog. Like, I don't need to hear like a dog suffering or like a dog getting stabbed or hung or anything like that, right? It was just a dead dog. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's sad. But it was a lot easier than other things.
There's almost like one more log on the fire.
Exactly. Like the movie is very effective, but it's not necessarily enjoyable, right? And so Ari Aster basically makes a name for himself when he's going to the American Film Institute, when he makes The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, which is about a son who molests his dad. Then he follows that up with Munchausen's, which is about a mom who poisons her kid so he can't go off to college. And so you could see like this dude is a juggalo through and through because it's about family. Whoop, whoop.
Oh my God. I love it.
Oh God.
Yeah. So Jake, did you see all his short films?
No, I can't. I don't. Anything that does the rapey stuff, I'm not going to watch it if I know in advance.
The Johnsons one. That was, man, that's so fucked up.
Yeah, I watched that one. Like it'll stick with you.
It's good. It's objectively good. Like everything's shot and acted well, but it makes you feel very uneasy. And
Yeah, why though? Like we should be like I'm like such a party bro when it comes to horror. I'm like, woo, let's have fun. And then when these movies happen that actually disturb me, I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe we should have done a podcast about basket weaving, bro. Like I don't know.
So can you look at Hereditary, like you take how it made you feel out of the equation and be like, okay, well, it was shot well, acting.
Oh, it's a
story,
masterpiece in that capacity.
Okay.
There's no question there. It's just like not my cup of tea. You know, I've often given this. I don't know, Brian, stop me if I've already done this analogy on the show. But whenever I have some friend who's being a mopey bitch about like a woman not liking him or a woman not liking a woman, I'm not trying to be gender or sex biased, whatever. If you're worried that people don't like you, take this to heart. Phil, what's your favorite ice cream?
Oh man, I'll go vanilla because you put me on the spot.
Ew, what? You
Yeah, I know.
generic white person? Jason, what's your favorite ice cream?
I was like, wait, didn't they say they weren't racist?
French vanilla for me. Okay.
Oh,
Wow.
Cookie. I like a cookie dough ice cream.
Okay, perfect. Cookie dough. So here we
All
go.
things that have white in it.
Oh, wow.
What's your point, Brian?
It's all right. I'll edit this out. We're good.
No, you
It's
won't.
fine.
So
We're both horribly racist. Let it be known. I'm kidding.
We're
I-
proud boys over here.
Oh, God.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's
Hey,
go.
Jake, can you edit a rebel flag in our logo
Yeah.
in the
Let's,
front yard?
we'll start this over. Jake, you want to ask that question one more time?
So
Flying on
Brian,
the
what's your
Myers house
favorite ice
porch.
cream?
I like mint and chip.
Perfect. So mint chip. Let's say I have the world's best cookies and cream ice cream. Objectively the best. Award-winning. Fucking aliens come down and say, this is the best cookies and cream ice or cookie dough ice cream that's ever existed. And I go to offer it to you. And you're like, okay, that's nice, but it's not mint chocolate chip. Like, I'd rather have Thrifty's mint chocolate chip than the world's greatest of something I don't like. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the cookie dough ice cream or whatever ice cream I'm using as my example now, because it's just not your preference. It's the same thing. This movie is like a stellar bit of some ice cream. I'm just like, nah, I'd rather watch
Okay.
some fucking zombie get struck by lightning and come to life and rip some kid's heart out and Tommy Jarvis runs away.
Okay.
It's a good time.
So,
That's a good time.
so I like this movie, but it's not my chud. And I feel
Oh.
like Jake is just like, you can shut the fuck up now.
I
Can I start
understand what you're
using
saying.
that, by the way?
What?
It's not my chud, but I like that.
Yeah.
I like this movie. It's not my chud. But
It's not my chud, but I mean,
Well, that's a little close to home, Brian, because Chud is one of my favorites. Well, but like,
yeah, well,
to Phil's point, like, it's obviously beautiful. Like, Ari Aster actually had 75 pages of shots he wanted to do before they even had a location. Like, clearly the dude, it was a very deliberate and well thought out and well researched, and I enjoy those elements of it. Like, if I wasn't doing it for the show, I would not have enjoyed this movie as much. But when I have the analytics to break down and, you know, seeing how the sausage is made, it's a really fun movie in that way.
Yeah.
it's very showy and sparse. So, you know, like the camera's always moving.
Yeah.
You know, it's always, if anybody's got any kind of monologue, it's going to zoom in and zoom out. Scenes go on forever between cuts and edits. I was like, you know, some of these, you know, you let it breathe a little bit. I guess he lets it breathe a little too much. It almost feels like another senior thesis or whatever to me in spots.
Yeah, for sure. It's very artsy in that way.
Yeah.
Which, to your point, like, I understand the concept of letting it breathe. I think that this movie could deal with a touch. If you added little, like, demonic visual disturbances and stuff when it's those long panning shots, just like a scuttling sound in the background or something to add, like, some, you know, supernatural element, I'd be way more into it. Because, like, with Invisible Man, I don't think I would have given a shit about that movie if it wasn't for the fact that I was afraid I'd miss something. So I didn't touch my phone the whole time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to watch the four corners of this screen are in my purview right now. I'm going to see everything. And if this movie kind of did some of those same things, like you could see like the face of Payman in the portrait in the background or something like that, I think I'd have a much chubbier dick for it.
Well, they did. I don't know. I got to send you some, you know, like those YouTube breakdown videos, like all the details you missed. This movie is like full of those. Like in every little scene, like there's some sort of like something in the background that means something, and
which I'm sure some of the stuff they cut out probably had some information on what those words actually meant that were inscribed on the wall instead of just like random words that you're just like, huh, that almost sounds Latin or something. So I'm assuming it's kind of something satanic, right?
Yeah, and Ari Aster was actually talking about, like, so in his mind, there were other words that were also scrawled that you're never even seeing. So I'm like, well, then you're adding something that you're not informing your audience of as they're watching it. So you can't do that. Because, like, that'd be like me going to Ernest Saves Christmas and be like, oh, well, he's an FBI agent. And people are like, no, nothing on the screen said that he was an FBI agent. And I go, well, no, he is. You see what I mean?
Or J.K. Rowling saying that Dumbledore's actually gay the entire time after
Super
the series
gay.
is completely done.
Sucking 10 dicks at a time.
Wow. I mean, is it gay if he creates a spell with all the dicks? Or
That's
mean,
more
it's basically
masturbatory.
masturbation, right?
Expecto erectum. I don't know.
Can we go back to that Ernest reference? I really respected that. Thank you, Jake.
I'm all about it. Jim Varney is the fucking man. My daughter has been obsessed with Toy Story, and there's a noticeable lack of quality in Slinky Dog after he passed away.
That's true.
You know, was he in Toy Story 4? Do they have the Slinky Dog at all in Toy Story 4? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he is, but I don't think he really has many
Okay.
speaking parts or anything.
I mean, honestly, I feel like they probably have so much of his voice saved over. They could just fucking edit and chop things together and just have him in like a million Toy Stories.
Oh, pull a Carrie
All
Fisher and
things
be
are
like,
possible through Disney.
never doubt what does she do into the Rise of Skywalker? Is like, never doubt the abilities of a droid. And you're like, that's the profound shit you're leaving this character with. She couldn't have just killed a bunch of people with ramming a spaceship. No, we have to do this instead.
Yeah, and then they pan away from her like a big tight on her screen, like, oh yeah, we all know she's actually dead now.
There we go. The Ari Aster, he originally wrote the script and it was just drama. And it wasn't until after that he started adding the more incorporeal elements and whatnot. And he based a lot of it off of a 2005 incident in Marietta, Georgia. Have y'all heard of this? John
God.
Kemper Hutcherson accidentally decapitated his friend Frankie Braum
Yes.
on a telephone pole. Because that's the thing where I'm like, man, that's some hokey shit. Like how are they going to plan that happening? That's such a one-off. And then I'm like, oh wait, what? This is the real thing? Gee.
Yeah,
Apparently
you're
they
more
were
likely to
super
believe something off of some random horror fucking movie than something that's created off of an actual event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently they were like both just super drunk, and the guy was so wasted he didn't even know his friend like smacked the pole, and he just like drove home and passed out. Yeah.
And then the
Crazy
fucked
shit.
up thing with that is somebody found him while walking their toddler around the neighborhood.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. So, stuff. Did you guys catch the Sixth Sense reference in the architecture of the house?
No.
There's a red doorknob. Ooh.
Oh, I thought you meant that Toni Collette was inside the house.
She was. That is a good point. We were talking about this in our group chat. Like, I just want that I want to watch a movie where she goes and gets her nails did and just like smiles on a park bench, because every fucking movie she's in, it's like, oh God, it's just so sad and your life is so vapid or like awful. Like, she deserves one where it's just like, things are cool.
She was kind of that in Knives Out, I guess.
Well, she's going to lose all
Shame
of her
that
money
movie
and she's going to have to resort to sucking dicks on the highway to put her
Yeah.
kid through college.
Yeah, she turned into like one of the worst ones.
Yeah. I'll pay attention to that next time when I never rewatch that movie.
Music by Colin Stetson. Stetson has done a bunch of shit. He played with Tom Waits, that charming actor from Mystery Men who was the bassist
Yes.
for Heath Ledger's Joker, who is just a very interesting person and the worst singer ever.
Jason loves Tom Waits.
Fuck you, Jake.
Dude,
Fuck you, Jake.
if I
Your
w-
Variation is one of the greatest albums of all time.
lyrics, great. Music, great. Vocals, like that of Sweetums from the Muppets. What are we listening to?
It does sound like somebody soaking a cigar in scotch, but that's why it works, because it's beautiful.
Yeah, like the ugly dog competition where it's like the uglier the dog is, the cuter it is, right?
Yes, exactly. Hosted by somebody who was on Mad TV 30 years ago. It's perfect. We love it.
By the way, Mystery Men, great movie.
Oh, it's
Shout out to Mystery Men.
unsung classic.
Truly.
Also based on a comic that it has nothing to do with.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, Flaming Carrot crossed over.
Huh. I did not know that.
Let me double check it because your look of perplexion made me wonder if maybe I misspoke. Flaming Carrot Mystery. I don't. Not after Brian corrected me. How many times this episode, Brian? Yes,
actually.
it was Flaming Carrot Comics. Not that kind of flaming, Brian. Let's move on. Did you know that Mr. Stetson,
Yeah.
Stetson for men, am I right? Spritz. He did music for 12 Years a Slave, Red Dead Redemption 2, and The Color Out of Space.
Oh yeah, and he also played in Arcade Fire and Bon Iver and other indie bands. I'm gonna pretend I listened to sound cool.
Feist
Hey,
and
man,
Lou
they're all
Reed.
merged records. Arcade records,
So-
Arcade Fire, they're all merged records here in Durham.
Oh, okay.
Sinead O'Connor, Godspeed, You Black Emperor. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Okay, so he has. Actually listened to some of his solo material. It's very moody and kind of dark. And then I think Ari Aster said that he was listening to a lot of his music when he was writing the script, which kind of makes sense.
Oh, perfect sense. Yeah. And now the makeup was done by one Steve Newburn, and he actually talked about the decapitation was toned down significantly, was the exact quote. They had built puppets for the head to get ripped off to, and blood was literally like planned to spritz in every direction as it was done. And they shot it, and then they're like, ooh, probably not a good idea, and less is more. But then it's like Midsommar, the next one, it's like, we're gonna crush this fucker's head with a hammer.
Yeah.
We're going to go full on Thor on this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should have been a metal band playing by that cliff in Midsummer.
I love it
Shit's
so
metal.
much. Yeah, and the scene with the hammer, like I've been recently playing Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and I just unlocked the hammer, and when I'm hitting people with it, I'm like, yeah, take that, you fucking turtle. Imagining that I'm crushing the skull of an old person who's putting themselves out to pasture.
Who didn't quite die from a cliff jump.
Exactly.
Oh, dude, that was even worse than the hammer smash.
So, Brian, are you ready for nicknames?
Dick names.
Sick joke, bro. Yeah. Let's do it.
Dick names.
Toni Collette was Annie Graham, the miniature artist. She's, like we'd already talked about, in every sad thing ever. I was going to call her Milk. Mom, I'd like to cuddle, just because I feel like I need to console her for having such a sad, shitty existence.
Well, before we move on from Toni Collette, can we all agree that she deserves some sort of nomination or something for this role? Because she fucking crushed it, I thought.
She's the best one, for sure. This is a one-woman tour de force. Because, like, the other actors, I'll say this, kind of went to the school of acting where it's like, the louder I am and the more crying I am, the better my acting is. And I'm like, no, that's not necessarily how it works. But she did a really good job of evoking emotion and feeling when she was going up. And that's where it's like, yes, that's the point that you need to do. You don't just yell. I know all about yelling because I never shut the fuck up. It's about evoking. That's the important part.
Yeah. And fun fact about that, Jamie Lee Curtis actually beat out Toni Collette that year for the Saturn Award for Halloween 2018. And I disagree.
Come on.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Like,
do as I say.
Wow.
How about no, Jamie?
Yeah.
Give that award to Toni.
That's like a career, like.
What I really liked about Toni Collette's performance in this film is how she was really selling the fact that you're not really sure if it's mental illness or if it's her being possessed by a demon.
100%.
Right. It's and that plays into obviously the name of the film with Hereditary. So is it something that's passed on through generations of her mother having mental illness, or is it something else more ominous?
Yeah, this is where you'd like Gabriel Byrne's character to have more presence, because it's not until like the very end that he's like, okay, shit's too weird, just stop. You kind of wish that he would do that more throughout to add more credence to the point you're making, where it's like, is it that she's crazy, or is it just that crazy things are happening?
Yeah, God, when does she like turn that corner where you see her like transform? It's like, oh, she's fucking possessed now. Was that after he burned alive?
I want to say it was probably when she tried to burn it herself and she saw that she was catching fire. And then you're like, okay, well, this is clearly something else going on, right?
Yeah.
But then, I mean, at the same time, that's also like, well, is it something that she's just imagining happening? Because I'm sorry, if my arm is on fire, it's not going to take like 15 seconds for me to be like, huh, my arm's on fire. That's weird.
Yeah, with your husband in the same room and not stirring at all.
Yeah, and she just shows up in Peter's bedroom, like right before the whole thing starts. So she's like, don't tell any of this to your father. Okay, you did not just see your sister in the corner over there.
Yeah, dude, I've seen way too many Pornhub videos that start off just like that, so I'm not about it.
Yeah, but it's stepmom, so it's fine, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you guys, you gotta give this a rewatch. When you rewatch it for the second time, you're gonna pick up on so many little things. You'll be like, oh shit, I didn't even.
I mean, I feel like I actually will rewatch it for sure, because Michelle, I don't think she would be 100% down with watching a lot of it, but at the same time, I'm like, ooh, this is fucked up enough for I'm like gonna sit there and watch her the entire time. Like,
like, ooh, wait till she sees this.
Yeah, this is a fun movie to watch with somebody who's never seen it before, and you're just like, oh, and here comes the part where she saws her head off. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going back to it, Gabriel Byrne was Steve Graham, who is a psychiatrist in the film. And so it's like, let's ham that element of it more. But did you fuckboys catch, obviously he's in The Usual Suspects, big fan, but he's in The End of Days as Satan, and then he's in Stigmata as a priest.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember how they introduced him as Satan in End of Days?
I remember a lot of things about that movie.
Like, the devil like predators into him.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and like makes out with some girl in the restaurant, like grabs her titty, and then just leaves and blows up the restaurant.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you say titty one more time?
Titty.
That's going to be my new text ringtone. I'm going to be in court and my phone's going to be like, titty.
Titty. It's like titty, but with a southern twang. I like it.
Yeah. Throw a little stank on it, you know?
You don't want this smoke.
Pepper that stank on it. Just a little bit. Say when.
So do we have nicknames for Toni? Did we go over that?
Oh, for me, it was Milk. I don't know if you guys did.
I didn't have any good ones for Annie.
I was gonna call her Annie. Are you okay? I feel like we've used
You
that
okay,
before.
Annie?
Good.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, and then
And she's not okay.
Very much not.
okay, Gerard Way, calm it down. Yeah, did we have
I
one
saw
for
him live at Warped Tour one year.
the chubby version?
It was the second album to come out. He was wearing a bulletproof vest and a white face with a black thing across his face. He looked like the girl from Blade Runner, the original one.
Oh, cool. Pris.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
I trust me.
before we
I know I have a tattoo.
Before
for
we
it.
stray too far away, I keep thinking about Ari Aster's next movie should be Ernest Summons Payman.
Yes,
I think I want to see that movie. Okay, I had to say it.
he's gouging his own eyes out. He's like, you know what I mean, Vern?
Oh, we miss you, Jim.
Oh, rim shot.
Yeah.
Did we have a nickname for the dad before we move on?
Y'all might remember Bowfinger.
Yes,
Bowfinger.
I
Sure.
love that movie. It's amazing.
Well, you remember Kit Ramsey's name was Keep It Together, Kit,
Yeah.
Keep It Together. That's what I kept thinking every time I see him on the screen because he's just trying to keep everything together.
I love
And
that.
he's just failing horribly at it. So I just kept calling him Kit. Keep it together, keep it together.
I feel bad for this dad. Do you ever see the married dad out in public with his kids and he's just been beaten the fuck down by life? He's just like, oh, whatever you say, honey.
Yeah, let me give you my business card. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Do we want to just call him Cuck Boy?
Oh,
I know he's Irish. There's something in there.
dude,
Maybe.
Homeboy didn't start acting until he was 29 years old. That's crazy. And didn't come to the
Yeah,
U.S.
but he's
until
been in
37.
like a million films.
I know. It's
Like
red.
Michael Jordan when he started to play baseball.
Right.
They took the world by storm.
Yeah.
I just
Number
imagine
45.
Space Jam, but with the starting of Gabriel Byrne doing like Othello, and then all of a sudden a bunch of poorly animated creatures show up and steal his acting ability. They all can't be winning ideas, guys. I'm sorry. But yeah,
Oh no, man.
we'll call him Captain Cuckboy McG. Alex
All
Wolff
right.
was Peter Graham, Annie's and Steve's 16-year-old son, Smokey McPot himself, the guy who actually knew Millie Shapiro from actually both went to the same professional skilled children's school. Quote, I basically decided that for this movie, I was going to, from the second I got to Utah, I was going to just be Peter for 3 months. And then he went on to say, I don't think you can go through something like this and not have some sort of PTSD afterward. So, I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say some of this shit's self-inflicted. When you're like volunteering to slam your face into a desk and jump out of an attic window, maybe you would have had something PTSD in your past before the acting job.
Well, he said he went full method for this, and everybody on set called him Peter. And on the last day, he introduced himself as Alex or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He can be Method Man all he wants. I prefer Red Man anyway, so that's just my 2 cents.
I think we just found his nickname,
There we
Method
go.
Man.
Method Man. I like it.
Yeah, and then
He does good in this.
yeah,
Give
and
it to him.
going back to his whole film school roots, he was very superstitious about like, you can't say Macbeth. And so Ari Aster was like, okay, come on, I can say Macbeth. And then a light bulb burst on as they were shooting. So that's pretty fun little anecdote. Maybe Payman did it. Who knows?
Oh, theater kid, right?
And then we had Millie Shapiro as Charlie. She said that she defined horror as anything that makes someone look behind them and realize what it is to be alive. Very profound from somebody who's too young to vote.
Okay.
Okay.
I know she acted in the Broadway version of Matilda.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know.
Call her
So
Reading
I think
Rainbow.
Can I throw a nickname out there?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Actually, I'd like to see if I can throw in the chat here. Well, I don't know if it's gonna work. We'll find out. We'll find out.
I was
Give
going to
me
call
that.
her.
Here is one.
Here's where Brian does this. I was going to call her the poster child, as in she gets hit with a post.
Oh,
Her child.
okay.
So do you guys see the chat? You see that image?
Yeah. We're seeing a girl. She's glowering.
Okay. And then here is the other. And I would like to call her
Ben
Jen
Askren.
Ben Askren.
Jen
Oh.
Askren.
Okay. Oh hell yeah.
Dude, I mean, look at her face. Look at his face. They're like super similar in features. I don't know.
Holy shit, you're right. She does look like Ben Askren.
Does she have cauliflower ear too? Please tell me she's got cauliflower
Yeah,
ear.
she got Masvidal'd by that fucking telephone pole.
Oh, a world record.
Are her next 3 movies going to flop horribly and then she's going to retire?
Well, yeah, when it's inconvenient after talking a tremendous amount of shit for a decade.
She's like, fuck your movie. Yeah.
I'm all about it. Jen Askren it is. We had Ann Dowd as Joan, who was the support group lady. Do you think that she needs a nickname? She's just Joan, right?
I just called her Karen.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Live, laugh, love.
And Ari Aster is the voice of the guy who's like, hey, just checking in, making sure that everything's okay with the project. And then Kathleen Chalfon was the Ellen Tapper Lee, who's grandma. And here's some like clues as to what's going on with her. It's said that she, in the eulogy, that she had dissociative identity disorder or split personality disorder. And that kind of gives clues to her being possessed. Her son, who kills himself, accuses her of trying to put people into his body. And then you have the husband who starved himself to death. So it seems to be that she's just trying to, like, you know how you guys are all men. As men, you try to fling your dick into any woman. She's trying to fling this demon dick into any man, right?
Exactly. Yes, much like the text message that Peter got earlier said, bring your dick. She wanted to make sure everybody had a dick involved at all times.
Yeah, exactly. So shall we get into the sleigh by play, gentlemen?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Starts off at the funeral. And
yeah,
one thing that stood out to me about this funeral was the portrait of the grandma almost looks alive. Like I right away, I was like super unsettled. I was like, I don't like it. And the tone of the funeral is weird. It's like none of the family's sad. So,
and of course, Charlie's just like drawing something, just like drawing portraits of everybody around the room, not caring at all that her grandma's dead.
Well, yeah, and Peter looks unaffected too. And I don't know, something's just off. But
and what's interesting too is so her death is calculated as a means to start Peter's descent into madness, and you can see just how disaffected he is at this point and how he starts to withdraw from here. So it's kind of interesting because he starts off from literally like no fucks given to like all the fucks given.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely. He's kind of thrust into the fucks.
That's actually usually how that starts.
Hey, all right. So
the best part though is, to me, that was when she goes up to when Charlie goes up to the dead grandma, and then that weird guy in the corner is just like glaring at her with this huge creepy smile.
Don't you see his dick later?
Yeah, you do see his dick later. Yes.
In the moonlight.
Yeah, thankfully it's not Charlie and him in the same room with him and his dick, because that would just be, well.
Exactly. It's just Toni Collette, him, and I guess, do you want to dance on the devil with the pale moonlight?
Movie, Brian. So what else do we got? We got after the funeral.
Yeah, after the funeral, basically shenanigans happen. You find out that she's really working on this miniature that goes and kind of is very autobiographical, and you see like the weird one where it's her trying to breastfeed and then the mom's like whipping out her titty, and it's interesting because it like reinforces with a visual how these things have affected her. Like she'll allude to something and then it's a visual cue for it. Like, you know, when it talks about her mom having died, it cuts to the hospital and stuff. And so from there, basically we go straight to that party where you got Peter who's like, hey everybody, like I want to go to a party, and his mom's like, you ain't gonna suck that dick of the evil devil's water, is you? And he's like, no. And she's like, then great, take your sister.
Hey, one thing about this party, I think this is the most unrealistic part of this movie. What high school party have you ever gone to where there's kids baking a cake?
Right? Dude.
Yeah.
And that wasn't store-bought either.
Actually.
When I first saw this, I was expecting, obviously there was nuts involved, and it had not those nuts.
Hey.
And
murder nuts.
And yeah, so she's allergic to them. But I was also thinking maybe they were going to be like a special brownie or a special cake.
Oh, I'm so into
There's
that.
going to be like some weed, because there's like a lot of fucking references to people smoking weed and bongs and everything else.
I love the idea of a stone demon king in a child's body being like, have you ever noticed when it's like it's...
Hey, speaking of smoking weed, so when Peter is smoking weed under the bleachers and kid with the man bun passes him the bowl, man bun kid later appears in the treehouse kneeling. So
Ooh.
he was like a part of the cult as well.
Do you see his wiener too?
No wiener.
Okay, good.
I don't know if his pubes are in a little man bun too, but
I don't know. I feel like I see a little. I feel like I see a little disappointment in Phil's eyes right now.
A little bit. I'm like, God damn it. No, but I'm telling you, man, upon rewatch, there's gonna be all sorts of shit where you're like, oh fuck,
Like wieners.
oh my god, dude, so many wieners.
Also, the interior of this house looked like a Puff Daddy music video. Did anybody catch that? Like,
Oh,
everything
yeah.
was all white and plastic everywhere. I was like, God.
It was like
Puff
World's End, where they're like in this fat ass mansion. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like everybody's richer in the whole world than I am.
Is Utah really like this? Maybe I should go there.
It's pretty nice. I'll be honest. I
So
have vacation there.
All the interiors were built on a soundstage. Like the exterior of the house is in Salt Lake, but they built all that shit.
Isn't it weird to
It's a
think that
good-looking house.
they shot an exterior where he's picking up a little girl, getting into a shitty car and driving away, but then what they shot on the inside was in LA, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, it's just a very odd situation.
Yeah.
The credits even had a New York film crew somewhere. I was like, what part of this movie was shot or edited or did anything in New York?
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm possessed in here. Fuck off.
Oh, you don't have anything like New York rats.
Yeah.
So I guess you got to talk about the scene that most people remember from this movie. He's leaving the party and Charlie has a allergic reaction. Oh, by the way, the room Peter goes into, there's kids sitting on the bed watching a movie on an iPad, and you see a beheading on the movie they're watching.
They watching like Faces of Death or something? Or
It's like some black and white movie that high school kids would never be watching, but
Are they watching Unchin Andalou? Is that what they're doing?
who knows? Probably. That's another little detail. But
Yeah.
yeah, Charlie eats the nuts and they have to leave the party and Charlie gets that pole.
yeah,
I
she
wouldn't
has
say-
she has a bad night.
Yeah.
The pole that has Payman's symbol on it. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is one of those things where it gets a little bit Sherlock Holmes for me, where I'm like, oh, it's just so like conveniently put together. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you're Machiavellian scheming, like the idea that she would put her head out of the car at that moment and that side of
Yeah.
the car instead of the other side of the car, it gets a little bit frustrating. And so
Sure.
in moments like that, I really want more supernatural because people are too fucking stupid to actually pull something off that meticulously, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, everything really had to fall into place for that. It kind of reminds me, you remember Scary Movie 2, where that guy was like, if I hadn't have driven that car and drinking that entire bottle of whiskey, then nobody ever would have died that night.
Exactly.
Well, one other little detail, there is a deer carcass placed in the road in front of the telephone pole. So that kind of made them swerve a little
That's
bit
a fair
to
point.
increase their chances of her, but still the odds of that happening.
Now, where's that deleted scene with Joan saying, hey kids, you know, everybody needs some chocolate cake. Everybody needs chocolate cake.
Oh yeah, how did she eat the
Yeah.
nuts to begin with? Did somebody plant the chocolate cake?
I just love to think that like
Anyway.
Joan was at the party, but like dressed up like a kid and used a slingshot to like fling a walnut in the back of her throat.
Joan is essentially Darth Jar Jar.
So basically, after his sister's head gets ripped off, Peter is just like, all right, well, she's dead, I can tell, and drives home and just goes to bed. And then you hear the gut-wrenching scream of Toni Collette when
Yes.
she stumbles onto everything.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard that kind of scream in person, but if you do, you don't forget it. And that's a real thing. Like they call that like the death scream, like that gut wrenching. Oh man, that scene is so fucking powerful, I thought.
And when she's on the floor just crying and saying that she wants to die, like this movie is really good. It's just
Yeah.
too much, you know?
I
Yeah, I
remember
mean-
when I saw
and
that
you know-
in theaters, I was like, okay, we're playing for keeps now. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay. It's that kind of movie. Holy
And it's
shit.
like the entire time you're sitting there watching her just like rack herself over in pain. And all I can think to myself is, how does Peter feel right now? Right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Because as much pain as his mom's in, like, okay, yeah, but I'm the one that was driving. So
Yeah, well, he was just in shock, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to be haunted forever.
Yeah, really. And then it jumps to, if I'm not mistaken, like the dinner scene, which I thought was really well acted.
Yeah,
When
like
Peter and his mom. Start.
Yeah.
she does a killer job with the, you know, when she yells about his face on his face, you know,
Yeah.
it's a really good, well delivered line because it is purposefully written to be so like bereft of cleverness and wit. Like it's meant to be like angry and just the first thing that she thought to say. And she does such a good job. Like everything she does in this movie is done like earnestly. And you could see how some of the things could just be really dismissive. Like you could see how that like support group scene that she has after this could be viewed as being like hammy or like overly silly. And everything she does is just like I said, she's a milk. I want to just like rub my hand on her back and be like, it's gonna be okay. Here's a coupon for some froyo. Calm down.
Yeah, again, it's everything that she does is really believable in the point where she just gets so flabbergasted to where she's just like your face on your fucking face. And you're like, I can relate and be like so mad at something that you say something. And then you're just like, why did I even say that? Because you're just seeing red and you don't really pay attention to what the fuck you're saying. It just comes out.
Yeah, you're not really eloquent when you're that kind of angry. And there's all this anger and grief at the same time. It's pretty rough. And then Peter comes back at her. It's like, it wasn't my idea to bring her to the party, was it, Mom?
Oh, yeah, dude. Like, that's like some fucking shade right there. And he was
like, he basically said, now go get your fucking shine box, okay?
Yeah. Oh man, that scene is so good.
Well, then if she had anything to say back, he could also be like, well, she wouldn't have died if she hadn't been born. How about that, Mom? Only yourself to blame.
Yeah, you didn't even want me. So why do you want to bring another one in here?
Crazy, right?
No erases.
So as we aforementioned, she ends up going to grief counseling and everything. She delivers yet another amazing monologue. Or no, wait, sorry. She's already done the grief counseling for her mom. Then she goes back to do it for her kid. And then that's where she meets Joan in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Which, to Phil's point, on like some of the fun details, you could see like there's pamphlets and literature from this whole seance shit in her mail, but she's so grief-stricken she's not looking at it. So they have been trying, and it's kind of fun to see them fail at like their Machiavellian scheme. Like, you know, they pulled off a decapitation with a piece of wood, which is pretty amazing, but they couldn't get somebody to read their mail.
So I'm sorry. Did you say that she met her in the parking lot? So would you want to call her Joan of Parking Lot?
Joan of Park. Ha!
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we retract. What was her nickname?
Karen. I think it was Karen, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, then, you know, they develop a friendship, and, you know, scenes later, Annie meets Joan in the parking lot. Again, it's a theme. Joan of Park. And she gets her to, you know, she lures her over and says, I had a seance. You got to come check it out. You got to come check it out. And this was like listening to Jason try and get Phil to watch a horror movie that he saw on, you know, some weird Korean website. And it's like,
not gonna happen.
Nope. But then she still goes.
Yeah, it almost felt like she was trying to pitch a like a pyramid scheme to her. It's like, come on, Cincy. All right, Cincy. It smells good. You put it in there, and you can be a millionaire. All you have to do, you've got all the tools.
You can make as much as you work.
It's like the girl that gets really into crystals, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like,
you can make $10 million a day working at home without pants on. Pyramid schemes, it's hilarious because now that, you know, people aren't working their day job, and all these people have said for the last 10 years you can make $1 million a day working from home, and it's like, okay, well, where are all the millionaires who are working from home?
Yep,
shit. It's true. But I do like the seance scene. I thought all that shit was really effective.
Yeah, what I really like about that scene is how Annie does exactly what I would do anytime something like this happens, where she goes and looks underneath the table because she's like, nah, fuck that.
Where's that magnet at?
Exactly. Which actually, coincidentally, right? I think they put a magnet in the chalk.
Yep, that's correct.
That's how it was written.
Yeah.
And going back to my Insane Clown Posse references earlier, magnets, how do they work?
How do they work? Yeah.
It's all around you. Don't even know it.
Also, her kid's name is Louie. Her grandkid's name is Louie. And this is just a me thing. Whenever I meet a Louie, they immediately just go dun 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 dun. Oh, that's all I can think of for the next. Like, we're out in public. I know we meet a Louie. Just know in my head, I'm just singing that song over and over again.
I'll make a mental note of that.
So see, if it were me, I'd want to go up to him and ask where Huey and Dewey were.
Oh, there you go. That's another good one. And that's another theme song that stuck in my head for the rest of this. So appreciate it, Jake.
Well, do you think that Karen, what's her name?
Joan of Park.
So she said that her son and grandson died?
They drowned.
Okay, so do you think that she was trying to, you know,
I think she was trying to summon payment.
Yeah. So
do you think
it's definitely something that came through my mind?
Yeah, possibly.
I didn't even think about that. Maybe they're just like breeding a lot so they can finally find one man child.
That is totally possible.
Yeah.
So what else did we got after the seance?
You got slashers. Woo. Sorry, I was waiting for a chance to rile up Jason.
It's stuck in my head now.
Yeah, then you have Toni Collette taking, the seance back to her house and being like, yo, everybody in our family needs to be right here. And, oh, Charlie, come say hi. And what's really interesting is what Charlie does is it's not cohesive and clear and simple. And, it's not a clear communication like with Louis, because she's had this like basically developmental block, because from her infancy, she has not been herself. She's been possessed by Payman. And so it's not Payman who's talking there. It's Charlie. And so these really emotional, like gnarly drawings and stuff like that are there, but there's no like language. There's no clear message. And I think it's really effective as a way of showing, evoking a sense of emotion without actually having an actress there to portray it.
Yeah. And when Toni Collette Charlie starts speaking through her, that's so fucking creepy.
It's good. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I think it's
that
really
whole-
interesting. It's really interesting how they actually mix like their voices together. So you can kind of hear Toni Collette's voice, but you can also hear Charlie at the same time. So it's like that weird little demonic sound that has like the Latin coming through in the English kind of thing,
Yeah, and I like by this point they've already established that Annie's not necessarily a credible like narrator or anything, because she's had her own issues like mental illness, and the idea that like she was standing over their bed with paint thinner or what have you, Brian.
Was it gasoline or was it paint thinner? No.
paint
It
thinner.
was depleted uranium, you uncultured swine. And so
at this point,
Yeah.
Gabriel Byrne is really just over it
yeah,
for the most part. Like he's because he's getting phone calls from the cemetery every once in a while, and you don't really know what that's all about. And then she's like lost it at this point. And even she kind of comes through for a second. She's like, none of this actually happened. Peter is like bawling his eyes out. I couldn't tell if it was like good crying or bad crying.
Well, like acting wise?
Yeah, acting wise, I was like, this is kind of weird. But then have you ever seen a 17-year-old boy cry? Like, it's really awful.
Yeah, not in a while.
No, it's, well.
What? Jesus.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. Like there were a couple times where I was like, is he good or
Like when he's like screaming, like emoting like that kind of thing, he's good. But some of the tears, I felt a little forced in spots.
like when he screams at the end of the movie and then jumps out of the window, like his scream is a little, I won't try that again. It was like, ah.
see what I mean? Like he's definitely of the school of acting where it's like, if I'm loud and crying, I'm acting, and it's like, nah, you can see this kid's got talent. Like there's no question about that. But then there's like Toni Collette, who's like just a galaxy ahead, being like, no, this is how you actually make somebody feel fuck all.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she tries to destroy. Well, actually, at this point, she keeps like going further and further into madness. She's only able to sleep if she's in the treehouse. And basically, her husband has like a moment where you could see he's still fucking sick of all this shit, but he's trying to help. Where he's like, basically, don't get out of bed, stop doing this bullshit. She's like, well, I'm still going to do this bullshit. So see ya. And things just keep getting worse. And then she tries to burn the sketchbook and she bursts into flames while he's just sitting there napping, which to Brian's point earlier, that did make me go like, I wonder if all this is fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see. It's really confusing. I've got it's not. It happens a bit later with the other when she does finally throw it in the fire. I guess I still have some issues with that scene.
I love
But
it
it's
because
kinda-
she's like, she has this look on her face, this like piety, and she's like selflessly like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for my family. And then her husband, the love of her life, bursts into flames, and she's like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's great. I was like, but why? I still don't understand why he caught on flames. Though,
Yeah,
is the only thing.
honestly, I feel like it's essentially, again, going back to you not really knowing truly if she's just mentally unstable or if she's possessed, because she's thinking, okay, well, I'm going to sacrifice myself by you throwing this book in. And you can see that she actually poured a little bit of the lighter fluid on the book.
Mhm.
Did she, though? Or did she douse her husband? And at the same
'cause it is
time,
off camera, yeah.
And at
'Cause
the
she
same
drops
time-
it, yeah.
at the same time, he's just like, okay, this is fucking crazy. So is it him saying this is crazy because he's doused in gasoline and he's like, this needs to stop? Or is it because she is handing the book to him and she is saying, okay, we need to throw the book away and then I will burst into flame? So you don't really know if you were to believe that she's sacrificing herself or if she's just dousing him in gasoline and saying, I'm going to burn myself. And he's like, you're fucking crazy. And then she throws the book in, but essentially she's basically just lighting him on fire.
I don't think he was covered in any sort of gasoline or paint thinner or whatever. I feel like he would have been a little more urgent if you woke up and you were covered in gas and
Well,
you were near fire.
Well, no, we're talking about because when she gets in the book, she like puts it down and you hear her pour gasoline on the book.
And so here's the thing. Also, you're also kind of looking. Obviously, it shows both of them in frame, but it almost seems like you're looking at this through her perspective. So she can clearly see her giving him a book doused in gasoline, but in reality, it's him covered in gasoline, saying, "What the fuck? This is crazy." Right? So
exactly.
I get what you're saying.
Like she's definitely an unreliable narrator, like Jake just said. Like maybe there wasn't really a book. Maybe she lit him on fire to start with.
Well, either way, I love this scene. I think it's beautifully shot, and like the image of him going up in flames, like they showed that in the trailer, like a split second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah.
it's probably the trailer where the kids were watching little kids movie, and then somebody got
Probably.
I hope so.
charbroiled.
Throw another Gabriel Byrne on the Bobby.
So then you have Peter who wakes up and he's just like, well, this is fucking weird. It's super quiet out. Let me try and find mom and dad. And I don't know how many times he was like, Mom, Dad, Mom, Dad.
Oh, so this is when he sits up on the bed and
You see that spider walk.
well, you see Toni Collette in the corner of the room. You guys saw that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, I've heard a lot of people say that they're like, I didn't notice that.
That's what I mean. More of that, because that stuff was really effective. Like when the shit starts to hit the fan, you're like, oh, okay, cool. But like the rest of the movie isn't delivered in as much of a like her husband's a fucking psychiatrist. So there's so many opportunities before that to make it be like, oh, we are witnessing her descent into madness. She's crazy. It doesn't do enough of that to where the payoff is like only at the end. Like I wish that it was just supernatural throughout. And with the practical effects they did, you can't tell me that the budget was the reason. Like, scuttling and stuff like that is relatively cheap to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, that was one of the better parts of the movie. I feel like is just the subtlety of her like scuttling on the wall, and it's not something that's just like thrown in your face where you're just like, oh, okay, obviously she's completely possessed by a demon or just completely off her rocker. It's different in comparison to like later on when he locks himself up in the attic and she is like pounding her head on the ceiling over and over again, which I feel like is almost just a little too reminiscent of like Exorcist. And I just found it a little too over the top.
Or the old lady from Legion. That's what that reminded me of when she's slamming her head.
Yeah, exactly.
I still need to watch that movie.
So doesn't she, unless I'm mistaken, doesn't she fly across the room?
Yeah.
She flies out of Peter's room?
No, I thought she was scuttling.
I'm pretty
across
sure
the wall.
she's like floating across the room.
Well, I know
thought she
for
just-
sure she floats at the end when she's dead. But I think that it's I thought it was scuttling at the beginning, and then later on when she's like stabbing herself with the knitting needles in the neck and stuff, then she's floating because that's when she's trying to decapitate herself.
I don't think that's knitting needles.
That was a piano wire.
That was piano wire.
Oh, because I knew she was she was cutting her head off.
Like
I thought she was stabbing it.
that.
Oh, I thought she was stabbing one side and then another, and I was like,
Yeah,
Jesus, there's more effective ways to cut your head off.
They don't really have the effect done like to the point where you can tell that it's piano wire. It actually took me a second to figure it out because it does look like she's almost stabbing her neck back and forth. But you actually look at like the fucked up piano and when Peter's walking around and you're like, oh, okay, you know what? That makes a little more sense.
Yeah, so after she flies or skedaddles out of the room, either one.
To be determined.
Yeah, so for me, like, there's no jump scares in this movie, but this is like the closest thing to one. When Peter walks downstairs, sees his dad, you see naked guy in the corner,
just chilling,
smiling creepily, which gives me the fucking heebie-jeebies. And then Toni Collette like lunges at him from out of the corner.
Yeah,
that part I was like, oh fuck me, shit.
yeah.
And you hear a growl whenever Toni Collette lunges at him. Now I don't know if that was the score, but if you go back and listen to it, you hear like an audible, like a monster growl for a split second, which nice little touch. I thought.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then they run upstairs up to the attic, which the attic wasn't down before when Peter was walking down. So it's almost like
they're leading him.
Yep. And actually, when he runs up into the attic door like shuts behind him way faster than he could have.
Also, the audio is off a little bit on her banging the head on the wall.
Really?
Yeah. I watched that.
Hmm.
I noticed that this time. 'Cause I've seen
Okay.
it. I think I've seen this the third time I've watched it.
Okay.
And yeah, the audio is off a little bit on that, but it's still pretty effective.
Do you think it's meant to be
So-
deliberate because it's so like unnerving and supernatural to a certain extent?
Sure. Yeah. I didn't think about it. Yeah.
So he is inside the attic and he happens upon the spot where his grandma was laying for a while. And you can tell that, something was there that looks like a cadaver, and his picture is there and its eyeballs are ripped out. And did you guys happen to catch that apparently they were talking about having extra footage where at the end he essentially rips his eyeballs out?
Yeah,
and they're
dude.
like,
I,
No.
I mean, I heard that, and apparently test audiences didn't like it or something. And so
I
they
don't
didn't
know.
pick it
I'd be
out.
all for it, but nah.
Yeah, I read an inclusion of the language "less is more."
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
No, you really don't. Not at that point. There's already lots of naked cultists in there screaming "Help Hyman" with a dead head.
So he sees the picture and then it goes to Annie, are you okay? Up, like floating in the air, and she's working at her neck basically and trying to fucking take her
Quite
neck off
disturbing.
with piano wire, man. She's doing like the old school fucking mafiosos. Remember when they like be like behind somebody in a car and then they like turn their car on and then they just like whisper something in their ear and like fucking saw their neck off with piano wire.
Have you ever seen Audition?
Oh yeah,
movie
she
with Jeff
saws his
Bezos?
fucking foot off.
Yeah, the foot comes off the exact same way.
She's like teet 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 teet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a fucking crazy movie.
Yeah, it is.
So you have a floating Toni Collette fucking body that disappears from the attic, and you see the light turn on in the treehouse, and he watches as her body floats up into the treehouse.
And apparently, one of the powers that Payman gives you is the power of flight. So that's
right.
Another
And of course,
little-
this is after the fact where he's like freaks out and jumps out the window. And yeah, I mean,
There it
it's
is.
cool. and like I feel like he would have maybe been a little more fucked up than he is, but at the same time, it's like, this is the end of the movie. Maybe we want to
He's
spend our budget on something else.
he's actually dead at that point, according to Ari Aster.
you can see a shadow leave his body, and Payman enters his body, the little orb of light.
Oh, interesting.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this movie in theaters, and when Toni Collette's body floated up to the treehouse, they were like a huge. Everybody busted out laughing in the movie theater.
Because it's
I
like the
hate that.
fucking
Oh, yeah.
X-Files, for Christ's sake. I wanted to be like, da-da-da-da-da-da.
You know what it
Like there were
reminded
like
me?
several spots around.
You know what it reminded me of between her up in the attic and floating up into the treehouse was in Beetlejuice. Like,
Oh,
I
I'm
just
all about
imagine like, shake, shakes and all that.
Oh yeah.
Shake it all the time.
I kind of dug the levitation. I thought it was cool, and I also like how all the sound cuts out and all you hear are crickets. It's like kind of peaceful. I don't know, kind of dig it.
Yeah. So he climbs up. Apparently, he didn't get the fucking levitation powers that she did.
And
So
he didn't
he's
get the dicks
climbing
out memo. What's that all about, right? Why is he
So
fully
he-
clothed?
He's climbing the stairs like some fucking peasant, right? When he's clearly like a god.
Stairs.
He's like, I'm Payman. Heard of me?
Yeah, I'm kind of a
So-
big deal around here.
So he goes up into the treehouse, and you see the statue that has Charlie's basically like fucking ripped off head, and it's really kind of reminiscent, to me at least, of what you see kind of in Midsommar, right? I mean, this is obviously before Midsommar, but like with the whole like bear thing, it's almost like the shrine, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
for sure,
definitely.
yeah.
Well, especially when they're like burning everybody in the fire at the end in that barn.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there are multiple different, like, odes or, totems, if you will. Like, even when Charlie's making that one doll that's yellow, you end up seeing it in Joan's apartment later. And that kind of, DIY, like, idolatry, it seems to be a pervasive theme in these two movies.
Yeah, all that folk art that they're making a lot of.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Start an
then
Etsy page.
And then, so then you have Joan of Park, who essentially like dubs him as Payman, but also Charlie. And it's kind of neat. So you see that it's essentially like they got rid of. So I was reading this earlier. So you have Charlie as the sacrifice. And when you cut off the head, from what I recall reading, you were getting rid of the ego. And so you're taking the brain and all of the thought process of Charlie, and you're transforming that into Peter's body, but with Payman's intellect, or his ego instead. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, so you see all the naked cult members upstairs. You see Man Bun Kid again.
Yeah.
There's like few other.
There's a couple people in the back that are actually dressed for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they have a little bit of modesty for that cult member.
They're like, dude, I didn't trim for this. Come on now.
You said it was gonna be Tuesday, now it's Monday.
Yeah, you just hear him say praise Payman. Praise Payman, praise Payman.
Well, yeah,
or hail Payman.
Joan delivers that whole epilogue of
basically, she's telling the audience essentially that you are Payman, now that you prepare for riches, you will bestow us on with all these riches and stuff.
She's like, you got the juice now.
I'm about to suck that dude.
Oh, thick old 19-inch foot long.
Yeah. Also,
if I may, I have to interject. When I say 19-inch foot long, I'm not talking about 19 inches being a foot. I'm talking about 19 inches around.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically lugging around a trash can.
Exactly. Come here, Jonah Park. I'm going to park this around back. Oh, no.
There's like one of those Gatorade balls. You see that they put on the coaches at the NFL?
Oh, my God. You mean a water cooler?
A water cooler, yeah.
A Gatorade bottle they dump on the
They say Gatorade, and it's Gatorade.
Jesus Christ. The weird sports things that they do with that face thing.
It's late at night, okay?
Oh, okay. So they start chanting Hell Payman, which, have you guys seen Rosemary's Baby?
Yes.
Okay. Hell Satan. Hell
exactly.
Satan, which is basically a mirror image of that movie, which isn't bad. I like the ending of this movie. I think it's kind of nihilistic, and it's like,
I'm all
deal with it.
I'm all about it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those, the world's gonna end movies like The Omen and stuff. So the ending definitely, like, that's the thing. It was such a sweet spot where it's just like, if the whole movie was that, I would definitely like the movie a lot more. But the family drama stuff was just, I don't know, that like family drama is way more painful for me to watch than like excruciating gore where people's eyes are being stabbed with glass and stuff. You know what I mean? It's just like, because I've lived through it. I've lived those awkward dinners. I've been called the devil, all that fun stuff. So to see the other stuff, it's the more intriguing part to me, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think at the core, that's why this movie is so unsettling. Like, yeah, I can watch, a slasher movie and be entertained and it's fun, but there's not many movies that kind of tap into that, the trauma and just, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's
movie got real.
It's definitely something I feel like certain individuals can relate to as far as being relatable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and that's what's truly horrifying, right? It's not something that where you're like, oh my God, there's a girl that's crawling on a wall, because that's totally believable. It's something that everybody deals with within their family at one time or another, and that's just the tragic loss of life. So
yeah, and also like the way people around you deal with that loss, and
exactly, and that's what's truly horrifying. So, so you guys ready to get into the nitty gritty and do like the whole classic trashic or tragic? I mean, I almost am certain Phil is gonna give me a classic, but I mean, go ahead, Phil.
Wait, what am I doing?
Classic, trashic, or tragic?
Classic is good, trashic is good, bad, and tragic is bad.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, classic. I love this movie. A fucking plus. I don't want to watch it for at least 6 months, because you know what? I'm glad I talked about this movie, because I can now exercise it from my brain, because it's been stewing in there for the past few days, which is not healthy.
Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I love this movie though.
I give it a classic too. It's probably, in this new cycle of horror movies, is I guess the post horror or elevated horror. It's probably one of the bigger ones up there with like The Witch, Midsommar to a certain extent.
You mean The Vivitch?
I'm sorry. Thank you for that. Which is, honestly, I've been thinking about it today. These movies are basically like a more palatable, like Lars von Trier movies kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can see that for sure.
So, like Antichrist isn't weird. Nobody's going to enjoy watching Willem Dafoe cum blood, but you can watch, little kid get her head chopped off like this.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe. Can we talk about how good his ass is in that movie though, when he's humping on his wife? That's pretty fun.
Oh yeah, that's also a classic too when you get to it.
It's something.
Yeah, I would also agree with you guys. I think it's classic as well. I feel like it almost seems like this could have been a novel before a movie.
Yeah,
I would go down the road and I would actually read it. I mean, I feel like it'd be a lot more fucked up than the movie itself, because I mean, obviously they're talking 3 hours of movie time. So if you were to convert that into fucking page form, you're looking at like a 1,500 page book. And I would be that masochist to actually read it. But yeah, it has its really good qualities to it, and nothing was too schlocky and jump scare for me to where I'm just like, oh, okay, it seems really cheesy that they did that. Really, it was just the point where she was climbing on the walls and banging her head on the attic entryway that I feel like was just like, they probably could have done without that. But other than that, I really enjoyed it.
Here's where I shock everybody and I actually say it's a classic. It's not my cup of tea, but like it's objectively a really good movie. And I think that I have to add the caveat for all of our fans. Like, I'm a cranky dad. Like I don't have fucking patience for anything anymore, because like the media that I consume, I only get so many hours of me time. So if it's long and paced out, I'm like, God damn it, something needs to happen because I miss it. This is my only time for myself, or I'm gonna fucking slam my head into a desk. And so in a movie like this, I feel this impulsivity where it's like, yeah, I'd rather watch something stupid like Jason X, but it's nothing saying this isn't a good movie. Like, objectively, it's well acted, it's well written, it's well performed, the effects are good. For me, I would just like more meat on the bone throughout, because when it is on, it's really good. And I think that would help me just, that would be like an all-time classic, as opposed to, well, this is objectively a good movie.
Do you think you'll revisit this soon?
Not soon, because I know my wife would watch it, but I could definitely see myself rewatching this. Like, especially if my kids get older and one of them gets decapitated in a car accident, for sure.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, honestly, one of the things that I really kind of look back on as far as watching this, usually one of the big things that we harp on is having it just be within the golden 90-minute time frame.
Yeah.
For it to be 2 hours, there still wasn't a lot of fat to be trimmed, or at least from what I
agree.
Yeah, this definitely didn't feel as long as some other movies that we've seen that were much shorter, I'll be honest. Like, this was not agonizing. I just felt impatient, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it's definitely a slow burn. It could be burn a little bit quicker, but I mean, some people really don't understand how slow burners go from slow burn to boring.
I say go slower. Let's go a little slow ride. I really do want to see the 3-hour cut someday. I don't know how I can do that, but maybe the Blu-ray or something.
I think Ari Aster said he didn't really care for the 3-hour cut either. When I was looking at an interview, he said like this is the definitive cut, because the 3-hour it's just too much, and it even loses some of its potency, like the dinner scene. It said it was much more effective, it just being that one dinner scene and not going on and on like it did in the movie.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So, fellas, if you don't mind, tell all of our fans once again where they can find your delightful little show.
Well, check us out on Instagram at the Spook House Podcast, and you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, we're on. I'm pretty sure we're on every sort of podcatcher there is out there that I know of.
Podcatcher?
Anyway. That's what they call them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're on podcatchers. Catch them all, right?
I feel like you're advertising like a different podcast.
I don't know. But yeah, find us wherever. We're kind of on sort of hiatus right now. Like, I'm moving into a house next week and quarantine. So things are just kind of up in the air. So we usually do like month themes. So like zombie month or whatever. But right now we're just kind of knocking out whatever we feel like, which is why we did Friday the 13th part 6 last week. So yeah, because we fucking love that movie.
So do I. My favorite installment of the film franchise.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's our favorite too.
Hey, we're actually kicking around the idea of saying fuck it and doing Ernest Scared Stupid. So if you guys want to come on our podcast.
Oh shit, that's one of my favorite movies with some ice cold Miak.
Miak. Well, I bet you thought I couldn't find any.
And then
Yeah.
you guys have seen Emperor's New Groove, right?
Yeah, I have. Yes, have you seen
I
it?
have not. No.
What?
It's a good one.
It's
What is that,
literally my wife's favorite movie of all time.
Is that a Disney movie?
Yeah, it's one of those like early 2000 Disney movies where they kind of hit a little bit of a speed bump.
Oh,
I feel
Or
like
box
it was,
office wise.
it was
Yeah.
almost kind of like has the same kind of stylistics of like Hercules.
Very,
Yeah,
very
exactly.
similar. Yeah. Well,
I thought you were
Eartha
about to say
Kitt,
Hereditary.
Eartha Kitt is in Ernest Scared Stupid, and she's also Yzma from that movie if you're obsessed with either of them. So one day I'm going to
okay.
sucker my wife into watching, I think I have Ernest Scared Stupid. I think that's one of the weird DVDs that I have in triplicate for some inexplicable reason. So Brian, if you need to borrow a copy, I've got you covered.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, gang. Well, this has been a real gay ol' affair, and I'm not just talking about the fact there's 4 dicks in the chat room, but
now.
Not enough dicks on the dance floor.
exactly. And it's not enough dicks exposed in a decapitated child's treehouse. So, with that being said, Brian, is it time to say goodbye to our fans for this week?
Goodbye, fans, for this week.
Goodbye, Slashers fans.
Goodbye.
For everyone, my
We
name
hope
is
to meet
Jake,
again.
reminding you to go out there and do something you love, and remember that all work and no power play makes Jack a dull boy. Yay.